Everybody, today we're going to program the Ti8384 to find the volume, lateral surface area, and total surface area of a cone. The problem being that a lot of times they'll tell you the height and the radius, but might not give you the slant height. Or they'll give you two of the other dimensions, but not one of the dimensions that you need. So we're going to include within our program, it's going to find that missing piece that it's missing and include it with the equations that we put it into and with our formulas, and it will work it out for us. So let's suppose that they give us the radius and the height, and they miss out without giving us the slant height. So we know that this is a right triangle. This is the radius, this is the height, and this is the slant height. Now, if they tell us the radius and the height, then we can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the slant height. And we know that r squared plus h squared is equal to the slant height squared. And when I take the square root of that, it tells me the L. So I'm going to go ahead and use the capital L because that's the one we're going to use in our program. And we have the square root, and I'm going to use the capital R as well. R squared plus H squared. And the way that we indicate this in our calculator is we use the store function. So what we're going to do is we're going to write within our program a way of finding L if it's missing and assigning L this value if they only give us the R and the H. And then there are two other possibilities, and we'll deal with those as we do our program. So our first step to programming a cone, and I'm going to leave this up, we press the program key, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of move this up a little bit, focus in on our calculator itself, and hopefully focus it well enough. Okay, so our first step is to press the program key, and we are going to create a new program, and we'll call it cone. So enter, and we'll call it cone, C-O-N-E. And in our program, we're going to ask for the length, the radius, the height, and the slant height. So I'm going to prompt. To get to prompt, we do program, IO. Prompt is the second one, so you have two options. You can highlight it and press enter, or you can just press the number 2. Either one is correct. Prompt. Our first prompt is going to be for R. That's kind of the most important part of finding everything on a cone. And then we're also going to prompt, so I'm going to program, IO, prompt is number 2, and I'm also going to ask for H. So alpha, don't forget to press the alpha to indicate, and notice that it has a little indicator on the cursor, has a little A inside of it, H. That's going to ask for the height. Now I'm also going to prompt for the slant height, which I'm going to call L. So program, IO, prompt, this time I'm going to hit the enter, and this time I want alpha L, and L is right there. Now, the problem we're going to have is that sometimes it's going to give us the R and the H, but not the L. Other times it'll give us the R and the L and not the H, and yada, yada, yada. So what we're going to do is I am going to ask, I'm going to know that when I'm missing a variable or missing a value, I'm going to put it in as 0. So we're going to use an if statement. So if you go to your program and you go to control, the very first thing it says if. So if, I'm going to put if. Now, if L is equal to 0, in other words, I entered 0 for L because it was missing. So alpha L. Now, if L is equal to 0, now to get the equals, we're going to have to go to test, which is the second math. Second is the blue key, and math has a test up above it. The very first test is the equal sign, and I press enter or press the number 1. Either one is correct. And if L is equal to 0, then what it's going to do is it's going to assign the value of L to this. it's going to say, take the square root of your r squared plus h squared and assign it to L. So if L is missing, then I'm going to take the square root, that is, and I'll show you where it is, it's second x squared. See it right there? It's the square root key. Second square root. Now inside my parentheses, I'm going to take r squared, that's r squared plus, is that a plus? Yeah, h squared, and close the parentheses. And now what I'm going to do is I've found my missing L, and I'm going to store that as alpha L. What this does is if I'm missing the L, it assigns it the square root of r squared plus h squared. Now, if I'm missing one of the other two, notice what happens. Suppose I'm missing, they tell me the R and the L, but I'm missing the H. So the H is going to be, I'm going to put 0 in for H. Well, here's what happens. R squared plus H squared equals L squared. I'm going to use the capitals because that's the way we're doing them in our calculator, is equal to L squared. In order to get the H, because that's what I want to solve for, I'm going to have to subtract the R squared. I should have used capital L, sorry guys. There it is. And then I get H squared is equal to L squared minus R squared, and I have to take the square root in order to find it. So I am going to take the square root of L squared minus R squared, and that's going to give me my H. And that's what I'm going to put within my program if the H is missing. So I'm going to put if. Remember how to get there? You go to Program, and it's the first thing under Control. It's CTL. The very first thing is if. So number 1, if. Now this time, suppose my H is 0. So H, remember where the equals is? You have to do second math. It's the very first one is the equal sign. And if H is equal to 0, then I'm going to do the next step, which is to find the H, which is going to be the square root of, do you remember, L squared? L squared minus R squared, and close the parentheses. And do you remember what we do? We store it as our H. STO, that's the store key, and alpha H. Now there's one other possibility, and I am going to leave it up to you. I'm going to go ahead and do it on here, but I'm not going to explain it again. R, H, and L. What's the other possibility? They give us they give us the R and the H, which allows us to find the L, or they give us the R and the L, and we're allowed to find the H. The other possibility is that they give us H and L, and we're missing the radius. That's probably one of the more common ones. So if my radius is missing, so I'm going to use Program, Control. If my radius is missing, R equals 0. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the missing R. And I'm going to find that by taking the square root of L squared minus H squared. If you're not sure why, work it out. Take a look at the past ones that I did. We're going to take L squared minus H squared. Make sure you use the subtraction and not the negative key. The negative key is like multiplying by -1. L squared minus H squared. Close the parenthesis, and we are going to store that as our R, aren't we? Alpha R. Now, even if we're missing an R, an H, or an L, our program will automatically give it to us. Now for the easy part, we're going to find the surface area. Let's start with the lateral surface area of a cone. And if you don't know what part I'm talking about, the lateral surface area is this part of the cone right here, missing the bottom. Imagine like a party hat. It's missing the bottom, and it's all of the cardboard or all of the parts of the party hat missing the base right here. And it's such an easy formula. This is my slant height. Here's my radius. This is R. And this is my height, H. And the lateral surface area is equal to pi r L. Isn't that nice? It's such a nice, easy equation. So we're going to put that into our calculator, and we're going to call it, I can't call it L because I already have an L. So I'll have to come up with something else for lateral surface area. I'm going to call it P for my party hat. P. So we're going to call it P for the party hat type, and I'm going to put it in my my calculator. So let's put it in the calculator right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to find it. So we're going to take pi RL. The pi key is second, and it's in blue. It's right there. Second pi. RL. Notice that I'm using the alpha keys to get the R and the L. Now I'm going to store that, and I can't call it L for lateral surface area. I need to call it something else. I'm going to call it P for party hat. And that's it. Now I know what at least my calculator knows what the lateral surface area is. Now, in order to get the total surface area, I have to add the bottom. So for the total surface area, I'm going to take the pi RL, and I'll go ahead and use the capital since that's what I'm doing in my calculator. Plus, now I have to add the bottom. Well, the bottom is just a circle, so it's pi r squared. There it is. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in like that. Now, what I could do is I could just put P plus pi r squared into my calculator and store that as my total surface area. But I'm going to go ahead and put the whole thing. So it doesn't matter. I could have put the P. Either way works. So I'm going to put in pi RL plus pi r squared. And I'm going to store that as T, my total surface area. And we're almost done. See, this is the easy part. Actually calculating the three things is pretty easy. Now, to find the volume of a cone, remember, the volume of a cone is 1/3. If this was a cylinder and you visualize, sorry about that. I don't know why that came up. There we go. If you visualize this cylinder right here, this cone inside of there that has the same height, the same radius, is 1/3 the volume of the cylinder. And the volume of a cylinder is the area of the base times the height, just like any other prism. So the volume of a cone is 1/3 the area of the base, pi r squared. That's the area of this base. Use my capital R. Times the height. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now be careful. 1/3, if you put it in your calculator, you have to put it in parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in parentheses. That is parentheses 1 divided by 3. Now I could have just divided the whole thing by 3 and then stored it, but I think it's easier if you use the actual equation that you're used to. Now pi r squared, pi r squared times the height, alpha h. I can just put the h and I can just put the r squared. I don't have to put the times in there. It knows to do all that. This is my volume, so I'm going to store that as alpha v. That's it. My program will actually find everything I want to find. The calculator is going to know what the surface area, the lateral surface area, which we called P, and the volume. The problem is we have to tell the calculator to tell us what those things are. So we call that display, and we go to Program, I/O, and display is number 3. So I can either highlight it and press enter or press the number 3. Either one will give me display. And when I display, I want to put whatever words I want to put, or whatever symbols or whatever, I have to put them inside quotation marks. And in order to get to my quotation marks, I have to use the alpha. Now, I don't want to have to keep pressing the alpha over and over and over again, so I press second alpha. Now my alpha is locked in place. I'm going to use quotation marks, and I am going to, let's do the lateral surface area first. So I'm going to use LSA for lateral surface area. LSA, the lateral surface area of my cone, and I close the quotation marks. All that does is print LSA on the screen of my calculator. Now, I need a comma. To get to the comma, I have to take the alpha off, and you do that by just pressing alpha. And the comma is right up above the 7, comma. Now I need alpha P, because remember we called the lateral surface area P for party hat. Alpha P, enter. There we go. This program will display the lateral surface area. It'll know what the volume and the total surface area are, but I also have to display them. Hopefully you know what to do next. I'm going to go to Program, IO. We're going to go to Display. I'm going to lock my alpha in place. I'm going to put in total surface area, TSA. I'm going to close the quotation marks. I'm going to take off the alpha. I'm going to put the comma, and then I'm going to use alpha T for total. And there it is. I'm going to display TSA and then the total surface area. The last one, I'm going to, again, I have display, so I'm going to do Program, IO. Number 3 is display. I need to lock my alpha. I need to put inside my quotation marks, maybe VOL for volume. VOL, close the quotations. Don't forget to take the alpha off, comma, alpha again, and V, and we have a program. And shall we try it? Well, let's see. What if we know, and okay, now we're done. So we could say end, but I don't like to put it in because if I end it, then I might have to have a little trouble restarting. So I'm just going to say second quit. Notice that the quit is right up above where it says mode. Second quit. It is not gone. I promise your cone program is still there. You'll see it. I have cone and I still have my original cylinder. Now, in order to execute cone, we just press enter right now, or 1. Either one is correct. Notice that the exec is there. Enter. Now, when I start my program cone, what should happen is it should ask me for the radius. Let's let the radius equal 3. And it's going to ask me for the height, and I'm going to let the height be 4. Now, suppose I don't know my L. Remember what you do. You put a 0 for L and enter. And what it's going to do, it's going to find L first. It's going to find the slant height first by taking the square root of r squared plus h squared. Then it's going to put in my surface area, my lateral surface area, which we called P, the total surface area, and the volume. We'll do one more example so you can see that it still works. One more example we'll do, and to start it again, by the way, you just press enter. Enter. It's going to do my program again. So this time the radius is going to be, let's say it's unknown radius this time, 0 for the radius. The height is going to be 8, and my slant height is going to be 10. Now it's going to calculate my radius. Look like a 0 there. It's going to calculate my radius, which is 6, because 6, 8, 10 is a special right triangle. And then it's going to calculate my lateral surface area, my total surface area, and my volume. And let's see what it does. There it is. Oh, interesting. My total surface area and my volume have the same numbers. Think about why that's true and see if you can figure out why it's the case. Anyway, hope this helps, and hopefully it'll make you be able to do your cones a lot more easily. And I will see you back. Bye, everybody.